It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Brouhaha. Tonight, my partner in crime, Dale McKee, is somewhere out in the big old world, out there wandering around. But we've got a return guest with us tonight that fills in for Dale sometimes, Waynesboro's own Charlie Britton. Charlie, good to have you with us tonight on the Brouhaha again.
That's glad to be here. I hope I can help you out a little bit.
Well, we need all the help we can get at the Brouhaha, so it's good to have you.
Oh boy.
Springtime, lots of things going on. I guess it's baseball time is really up front and center right now, and I'm looking at, like to talk a little bit about Dale's sideline view. Even though Dale's absence, his presence, he's physically absent, his presence is always with us because he's got this sideline view. He talked about the Rebels, split 2 SEC games this week, losing at home to Alabama before down in Missouri in the road contest. What do you think about the Rebels? What do you think about that, Charlie?
This is basketball we're talking about here.
Basketball?
Oh. Yeah, we're talking about basketball.
Okay.
Got off to a good start. The schedule was kind of weak to start with, and got in the Southeastern Conference, and they've struggled some. And they used to back in our day when you won 20 games, you qualified for the tournament. But nowadays it doesn't mean a whole lot. It's a little bit different now.
Them and State are both at State's at 19, Ole Miss at 20. So that's a pretty good year.
Yeah, you would think so, but it don't get you in a tournament like it used to.
What gets you in a tournament now?
You probably got to have about 23 or 24 wins now. They go your toughness of schedule.
Yeah.
You have bad wins, you have good wins, and it's a lot different than it used to be.
Bad wins and good wins.
Yeah.
Now they take those into consideration. That's real subjective, isn't it?
They do. Missouri, just take Missouri for example here. Now they have not won an SEC game in basketball this year. So Ole Miss did beat them at Missouri, and they would have lost. That would have been a bad loss because of their record. So,
I got you. Yeah.
And Mississippi State's had some good wins. But 19-10, I don't know if they'll get in. And of course, you got Southern there. They're kind of struggled this year.
Last year they had a pretty good run.
They did. They won maybe 24, 25 games last year.
Year before last, they weren't that good. And we interviewed Coach Ladner, and Dale and I did, and he was talking about how he had to get old quick. He went out and hit that portal, and man, they had a really good year last year. But now he's been sick. He's missed most of the year this year.
Last probably couple of weeks. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, he has missed. Yeah.
All righty. Southern's at 16, 15, 9-9, 6th in the Sun Belt Conference there. They better tighten on up and get that way in a hurry.
Yeah, and I don't know that the Sun Belt Conference, the tournament winner, I don't know if they get an automatic berth to the tournament. I'm not real familiar with it, but maybe they could win it and get in. I'm not sure they get an automatic bid or not. And Pensacola, Florida, so right down the road where they're having a tournament, so I want to go see some good basketball.
It's a pretty easy ride down there to Pensacola, about 2 hours, 15 minutes, you can be there.
Yeah, that's right.
Lady Rebels, man, they're on a 6-game win streak, I believe, right? They're about third or right there close to the top of the SEC, aren't they, Charlie?
Best year they had in a long time. They're going to be in the top 4 and get a double bye in the tournament. Had a good year. Sure have.
Okay, they're sitting there with, 22, and there's the Lady Bulldogs, 21, and they've won over
21 games. And, their basketball program's been good for the last probably 10 years. They've really been good.
The Lady Bulldogs. Let's drop down a class. I don't know if to say this is a classification. It's not SEC, not D1, but the Crusaders, the Lady Crusaders of William Carey, here they are as another 20-plus win team. I mean, good gracious alive.
Play good basketball, William Carey, both men's and girls.
Yeah. Dale's got some information in his sideline view about the Sports Hall of Fame. He's real involved in that, and I always talk about what's he got going on in the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame there, Charlie.
Well, looks like we're going to have awards, and they selected this for this year. Let's see, you got some finalists. Maybe we can read the names there. Jessica Carter of MSU, Marquisa Davis of Ole Miss, Dominique Davis of USM. Now, this is women for the that will be awarded the Gillum Award for the best player in the state of Mississippi. And then on the men's side, you got the Howell Award, and the 3 finalists are Josh Hubbard of MSU. He's a freshman right out of high school.
Do you know where he played?
I think Madison
Ridgeland
Academy.
Okay.
I got Matthew Merrill, Ole Miss, and Austin Crowley, or USM. And this kid played at Ole Miss about 2 years ago, and he transferred for some reason. But there's 3 pretty good picks there. I don't know who will win, and I think tonight we'll find. No, that's next Monday night. We'll find out who the winner is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mississippi High School Activity Association wound up their playoffs. We talked about those a little bit last year. On the backside of that now. Go over the winners there for us, Charlie, in the Mississippi High School Activity Association basketball tournament. How'd that come out?
You got 7A, you got the Meridian Wildcats, and our former coach, Ron Norman, won a championship and the highest classification in the state.
Yeah. Somebody said he had won 5A. He won a 5A here.
That's correct.
And he won a 6A. I don't know. We were trying to figure out where. I read that, but I couldn't tie it out to where it was. I thought it might have been Pascagoula. But one of our other members around here said he didn't think so. But anyway, he got that 7A in Meridian. And I tell you what, I remember when he was here. He had probably one of the best rosters. I don't know. That one back in the 80s with Jimmy Smith and Randy Pettis was pretty good in the games.
They had more
of them.
Oh,
my goodness. But now with Gator Worsham and Woodson, Avery Woodson were on that team. Those were 2 Dandy Dozen guys on that team. That's probably the only time we've ever had 2 Dandy Dozen. I mean, 2 Dandy Dozens on a basketball team, that's pretty strong. But that's what Ron Norman had here at Wayne County.
Was Jimmy Smith and Randy Pettis Dandy Dozen?
I don't know if they had a Dandy Dozen back then.
Okay.
I'm not sure they did.
Well, they could have been on it. They could have been on it. They had Dandy Dozen back then.
And to holler about that, Jimmy Smith went to Alabama on scholarship, and Randy went to DePaul. And then transferred back down to Southern and played on that NIT championship team. But
just going back and hitting that on a little bit, those 2, Randy and Jimmy, you had David Howard, David Gaines, Curtis Howard. Come on here, I'm going to leave somebody else. They're going to leave somebody out here. They had a kid named Kurt. Can't think of his name. Played point guard. Kurt Davis.
Was Spencer Davis on that team?
I think he may have been after them. Okay. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But, man, they were loaded with talent.
Man, they could go.
They were good basketball. They had a good basketball team back in that day. They sure did. And I'm sorry if I left somebody's name out, but I know I did.
We do the best we can, don't we, Charlie?
We're old. Can't remember.
That's right. I tell you what I can remember. We've come to the end of about our second time. So I tell you what, let's just take a little quick break to hear from our sponsor, and then Charlie and I will be right back with a little more Brouhaha chat right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. Appreciate you staying with old Charlie and I as we talk a little sports here. And I kind of jumped out of the boat too quick on the basketball deal, Charlie. We left some of we talked about the colleges, but now, and we were kind of talking about the high school, but let's pick back up and wrap up on this high school stuff and some of the observations that you've made about some of the participants in the tournament this year.
Well, just looking at some winners here, back when we were younger, which was a long time ago, you had folks like Belmont, Tishomingo, Biggersville, Boonville, all right in the same little area up there in North Mississippi, and they won championships. Matter of fact, back a long time ago, a couple of these schools only played basketball. They didn't play football back then. That's all they did.
Yeah.
They played basketball.
Yeah.
So it's really a lot of history right there. We go down through the winners if you like.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Of course, we mentioned Meridian has won 7A in boys, and then 6A we had, let's see, who won 6A boys? Maybe Olive Branch, I believe. Then had Canton that won 5A, which beat Wayne County in the semifinals. They beat,
and I think Yazoo City was supposed to thought was going to win it, but Canton fooled around and beat them.
I think it beat them by 18 points. And then you got 1A, you got Biggersville, you got Boonville in 3A, and Raymond in 4A. Raymond I think has the best player in the state of Mississippi, and I think he's committed to Mississippi State at the time.
Yeah. Back in the day, we used to go, I remember in the 60s, we used to go up there, my family and I would go up there and watch those tournaments. And they would, we talked about this one day. Were the classes? A, B.
You had double A, single A, double B, and single B.
And at the conclusion of that tournament, they had the winners of each. They'd have a tournament to see who was the overall champion. And I remember being up there one year, and I may have told you this. We watched Tupelo, and they were the biggest classification. And they had won a state championship, and it was either Puckett or Pelahatchie, and they had won the smallest, and they were playing for the overall. And I never will forget it. Everybody just knew Tupelo was going to run them out of the gym. And I think it was 12 or 13 to nothing before Tupelo was able to get the ball past half court.
Oh.
I mean, so it was a lot of fun. But, I mean, high school sports in Mississippi, there's not anything quite like it.
Let's look at the girls right quick here. You got Blue Mountain 1A, Belmont 3A, Tishomingo 4A, Law right across on Highway 84 here. They won state championship, and I think the coach there maybe was assistant coach here at Wayne County for a while, Sherry Cooley. Mm-hmm. They had a real good team, and Wayne County had trouble with them this year. I don't know if they beat them, but they played about 3 or 4 times. Maybe they beat them one time. I'm not sure, but anyway. Law had a girls real good basketball team.
Yeah, they've had some good ones in the past. Let's switch over here to college baseball for a second. It's in full bloom. Mississippi State's they won 5 games last week, but they're still only 8-4. So they had a good week.
Yeah, is it 2 years ago or 3 years ago they won it all?
3 years ago they won it all. Then Ole Miss won it all, and then everybody was hoping Southern was going to win it last year, but couldn't pull it off.
And Mississippi State and Ole Miss both have struggled since they won the national championship.
Yeah.
Don't know why. They just, injuries I'm sure has played a key part in it, and they haven't done good since they won the College World Series.
Well, Terry Bradshaw said it's hard to be hungry with a ham on your back.
That's right.
I guess that has something to do with it. Let's see, who else we got in football? I mean, baseball going over State, and and then of course you're talking about
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss. How are they looking so far?
Well, looks like this. I don't know if this is up to date, but Southern Miss is 8-4, State's 8-4, and Ole Miss is 8-5. So they're all about the same right now. Look.
You can put them all in a boat and you couldn't tell them apart.
I think Mississippi State and Southern Miss maybe play this maybe tomorrow night at Trustmark Park in Jackson or Pearl.
That ought to be a good matchup.
Yeah.
Should draw a good crowd up there. And if you want to go see some good, state local from a collegiate standpoint, drive on up there to Trustmark and watch it. Dropping down the JUCO level, here's one we see that East Central's head baseball coach Neil Holloman won his 500th game with the Warriors as East Central used a walk-off home run from Brady McGee to down East Mississippi 10-8. The interesting thing about that, there's a couple of Wayne Academy guys on that team. Luke Cooley is up there. He's a sophomore pitcher this year, and then Cameron Scooter Carlisle is up there as a freshman, and they're both big parts of that pitching rotation. Scooter is left-handed pitcher with Luke, I believe, and then I believe he's a lefty. I'm not sure, but I know Cameron's a sidearm pitcher, and you don't see those every day. But they're doing really well. I think they're 21-0.
That's pretty
amazing. That's pretty good.
21-0.
They played in the College World Series and the JUCO Series last year.
That's right.
I think they lost in the championship and couldn't quite get it. But I mean, looks like they're off to a pretty doggone good start and headed that way.
That's as good as you can do. 21-0.
Yeah, you're talking about baseball, softball. The Lady Rebels are sitting there at 14-5, and Mississippi State at 17-3. They play some pretty good softball. But now listen to this. You want to talk about softball? I came across this this past weekend. Oklahoma's NCAA record win streak in softball ended at 71 games. They won 71 softball games in a row, my friend. Louisiana, come down here to the South and find out what's up. That's right, beat them 7-5.
To win 71 games in a row, you know how hard that is.
Oh man!
And maybe just
to do anything 71 times
made me think back in. I keep going back to our day. Yeah, that's what we remember. UCLA.
How
many did they win in a row?
Well,
70. They made 70-something games in a row back in the. mid-70s?
Well, they won what? I don't know. They won multiple national championships. Maybe, 6 or 7 in a row national championships.
That's pretty amazing.
I'd say you're talking about dynasty stuff.
That's right.
Anything else you see around here, Charlie, on the basketball or the baseball stuff you want to throw out?
Let's talk about Caitlin Clark at the University of Iowa. Let's just talk about her just a minute. Broke the all-time college basketball scoring record this weekend.
She came onto my radar last year during the playoffs, and watching her. And, man, she's a shooter. I mean, a shooter.
She takes a lot of shots. So you got to score if you shoot as much as she does.
But I guess she's probably shoots at a pretty high percentage. You would guess she got the green light anytime she wants
so. Man, you didn't have the green light.
No, I had the green light to sit on the bench. I was a red light guy. Just look at it. Tell us about her.
Let's talk about this just for a few minutes because this is really interesting to me. She broke Pistol Pete Maravich's record, and didn't have the 3-point shot back in that day. That was in the late '60s and early '70s.
So you're telling me that Pistol Pete Maravich had all these scores, and he played in the
late '60s, maybe first of the '70s.
And so that collegiate record has been there since then.
All-time scoring record.
And he did it without
the 3-point
shot. I'm going to shut up and let you go.
No,
again.
and he only played 3 years. Freshmen weren't allowed to play in varsity back then. So
that's right.
And she did it in 4 years, and I'm not taking anything away from her. She's a great player. But just to look at it, she has made 509 3-pointers in her career.
509.
Which is totals 1,527 points. And if it were just 2-pointers, it would only have been 1,018 points. Which would have made her 509 points shy of Pistol Pete Maravich.
And that's still counting all his as 2.
All is 2. She'd have been 509 short without if it would have counted 2 in her career.
We don't have any way of knowing how many he shot, but he had a propensity from putting it up from downtown, didn't he?
He was a guy that would take. He had the green light also. He shot a lot, but averaged a little bit over 44 points a game in his 3 years at LSU.
Yeah, he played for the Jazz
at one time, and maybe the Boston Celtics.
I forgot about the Celtics,
and maybe even the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah,
back in the day. He didn't have a real good pro career, I don't think. That maybe hurt and stayed hurt a while. But
well, no disrespect, but he was obviously ill. He had a congenital birth defect, I guess, with his heart that eventually got him.
I think that's right. At a young age.
I know with those floppy socks, man, and that long hair, he was a sight to behold. He could pass that ball, very Larry Bird or Magic Johnson-esque. Yeah. The way he could dribble that ball and pass it, man. Yep. Very lot like Magic.
Yep.
He sure was. You ever seen I know you have.
How you know?
I just know you've been to a lot of games. You've ever been to a professional basketball game? How many times have you done that?
Probably about 5.
Yeah.
5 or 6.
Who did you see?
I saw Pistol.
You did?
I did at Superdome in Louisiana. I saw Larry Bird and the Celtics came there one time. I also saw the Philadelphia 76ers play there. And at the time they played, the attendance was like 36 or 37,000 people in the Superdome.
Go ahead.
We went, and we didn't have tickets when we got there. We bought tickets. And of course, you can imagine where they were. They were in the...
I've been there.
They were way up there. And trying to watch a basketball game, it wasn't real good, but we were there. And the biggest thrill I got is we were there and walking around the Superdome. You know how you can walk around it?
Yeah.
The Philadelphia 76ers came by, most of all the team. And I told the guys I was with, if Dr. J's in there, I'm shaking his hand.
You did?
He was there.
Did he shake your hand?
I shook the doctor's hand in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Wow. Was Dr. Dunkenstein on that team?
Yep,
Darryl Dawkins.
Yep.
Yes, so he named all those dunks.
That was pretty good. That's a thrill.
I get where you're coming from sitting up there because I've been in the Superdome and I've sat up there and watched football games. It's like watching ants.
Yeah.
But now, back in the late 90s, I took my family. We went out to San Antonio to watch the Spurs play, and they played Portland.
Right.
And we were in the Alamo Dome, and it wasn't near as big as the Superdome, and we were down kind of like, I guess, I don't know, we were in like the lower deck. And what amazed me is it didn't look like there was any room left on the basketball court because those guys were so big. Keep in mind that they had the Twin Towers out there. They had the Admiral, and they had Tim Duncan. Both of them 7-footers on that team for San Antonio. And it just, the speed, how quick they got up and down the court. But yet when you were on the half court side, that thing was full of people. It didn't look like it was any room.
Yeah, well, when you got 7-footers and 6'11" guys, you don't think there'd be much space, would you?
And when they spread their arms.
Yeah, there you go. So,
oh, man.
Even this year, I went to a few high school basketball games, and sitting in the stands and then sitting down there closer, you can see way better if you're closer to the court. And there's space down there, but it doesn't look like it at times. And let's give a shout out to Wayne County boys and girls. They had a great year in basketball.
They did.
Gina Skelton and Coach Walter. They had both had good years.
I think Coach Du Bois made it to the Final Four, didn't he?
Final Four, yeah.
And got beat by the eventual champion.
Really.
So that was quite a run. Anything else you got here, Charlie, before we're going to take another break and head out and see what some of our sponsors got to say? You got anything else you want to hit before we go to the break?
Sound like we talked about a lot here in this short time.
We have.
Always good.
It's always good. We got some more to talk about.
All right.
I tell you what, let's do. Let's take a break to hear from our sponsors, and then Charlie and I'll be back with tonight's final segment right after this word from our sponsor.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
All righty, Charlie. Britton and Marshall Wood here back for the final segment of tonight's Brouhaha. Making our way through, talking a little sports. And, we've talked about basketball a little bit, but there's a little bit more we want to throw in here about basketball. And, LeBron James, I mean, some say the greatest of all time, some say no. I don't don't agree with the fact that he's not my number one guy, but I tell you what he's done. He's scored more points than anybody else.
Well, that speaks for itself.
He may not have as many championships as others do, but he just hit the 40,000. I guess he's the sole member of the 40,000 point club.
I would think you'd be right.
That's a lot of points. How many did Caitlin have? Of course, she's at a different level.
Yeah, she's only in college. I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 points.
Yeah, but
now she's only played 4 years.
Well, that's true. Now, he's been playing it for a while.
Broke maybe Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I passed him. He passed him last year. I think James had added 1,700 points to distance himself here in this article I'm looking at between Abdul-Jabbar. Jabbar had 38,387, and now here we are sitting with James at 40,000. You might say, what about, people talk about Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain once averaged 50.4 points in a season, but,
he also scored 100 points in one game.
Well, he sure did, but he didn't score 40,000, did he?
No, he didn't. He might have blocked 40,000 shots.
Where are you on LeBron James?
I'm not, I don't follow it like I used to, but obviously 40,000 points speaks for itself. Two different guys, him and Kareem. Kareem with a sky hook,
Yeah.
How many of those you reckon he made? Sky hooks.
Man, a bunch of them. And them were 2-pointers.
You got to give LeBron credit. 40,000 points.
He's a freakish athlete.
Man, he's huge.
He is big.
Wow, he's big.
I mean,
he really is.
I often wonder to take a guy like that and wonder what he had done like playing football.
Yeah, it looked like he'd be a good tight end, don't you?
Not many of them from other sports go, but you remember a guy named Ronaldo Nehemiah?
That name
was a high hurdler.
Mm-hmm.
And an Olympian. I'm not sure if he was an Olympic medalist or not, but he probably was. But he never played football, and he went to the 49ers and played and became a contributor out there. I don't know whether Steve Young or Joe Montana was the quarterback at the time, but I remember Ronaldo Nehemiah making the flip to pro football, and he made it happen. Back to LeBron James, 40,000 points. Is that a record that'll ever be caught? Is there anybody here that you can see that might be in the hunt?
When you think about points, the first guy that comes to my mind is Michael Jordan. Where is he? Where is he on the list?
He's carrying them championship rings around.
He got
6 of them, I think.
So, what's more important? Scoring 40,000 points or having 6 or 7 rings?
I believe I'd rather have the rings.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, something good to talk about.
Yes, sir. Let's see here.
Before we leave, LeBron is he the greatest ever? What about Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute.
How do we decide who's the greatest?
Yeah. How do we decide? I mean, it's just a lot of people will tell you. I mean, I think it's pretty much people say, "What about Kobe Bryant?" Yeah. Michael Jordan probably got more championships than anybody, and I mean, he was such a force. I don't know. To me, I don't know that James is as mean down when it gets down to it and it's tough. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I'm a Jordan fan. I always have.
I like Michael, but I'm gonna go back just a little bit. I'm gonna get off of this.
Come on.
Bill Russell had about 11 or 12.
He won 11
NBA championships.
It's funny. I heard him ask Shaq one night on an interview who was the best, and he's asked somebody who he said, they were talking about LeBron, and Shaq said, "Well, Jordan's got 6. How many has LeBron got?" And I don't know, what, a couple maybe.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
And I was going somewhere with that, and I forgot where I was going with it. But I do that a lot. I was going to make a point, but I can't remember what it was.
About Bill Russell, man?
Bill Russell. So if you want to count who's the greatest of all time, he's won 11. And he played and coached at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard to not make a case for Bill Russell. One of the forgotten few, but
yep.
Man, those Celtics back in the day, they had them, son. They had them. We've talked about NIL a lot on this show, and I see something here. This kind of caught my attention and looking. The EA Sports has announced over 10,000 athletes have accepted an NIL deal for its college football video game. More than 10,000. They got 100 and I believe 134 schools represented. The developer, all 134 FBS schools are going to be in this game. Now, I'm not much of a gamer, but this is a big deal. This NCAA football and this pro football, but that's something about that. I think you're going to get like $600 a piece. I mean, but that's pretty cool. I think it gets all the schools in there. No matter who you pull for, if you want to play this football game at EA Sports, you're going to be able to play with your own team, the ones you pull for. Charlie, we got to get you a computer and let you play some football. You reckon you can win?
Probably not. Speaking of NIL, I think I've read this in the last 2 or 3 weeks. The highest paid NIL athlete in college is, I believe his name is Bronny James.
That's Bronny?
Which is LeBron's son. $5 million is what he's getting for NIL money. I think he's a top guy. $5 million in college.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, isn't it?
Man. Of course, Daddy got plenty of money, too. LeBron got it, son.
Also, I read this past week, we're talking about Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Her NIL deal is more than she will make next year as a rookie in a WNBA.
Yeah, I read that.
Ain't that something?
Mm-hmm. That's why. Now, does she actually have another year? She's got 4.
She can play one more. She has another year.
Is that a COVID year?
I think so.
So she could have. At one time, I read an article about a month ago said she was going to come back because of the money, but she's going to go on now.
I saw in the maybe last week that she had decided to go. Yeah. She could change her mind.
Well, that money matters in that sports. What they do. Just ask Steve Sarkisian.
What did Steve get?
He got some more money.
Money.
He's
already making about $6 million.
Well, now he's making 10.3.
Well, he deserves it.
He deserves it. I mean, people high on Texas. I mean, they had a great year last year, playoff stuff, beat Alabama and all that kind of stuff, recruiting well. I'm interested in Texas because of what's going to happen with Arch Manning at some point in the line. But contract extension, that Sark guy is guaranteed his salary to $10.3 million this year, making him one of the highest paid coaches in the country after leading the Longhorns to the Big 12 championship, first appearance in the CFP. Texas announced a contract extension that goes through the 2030 season. They announced that last month. The extension includes $100,000 annual raises that will push Sarkisian's guaranteed salary to $10.9 by the final year. He also gets a one-time $300,000 bonus payment and 20 hours of personal use every year on the school's private jet. Charlie, if you had a private jet, where would you take off to?
I don't know.
Would you watch the Rebels play?
I don't know. I don't like really flying myself.
You don't like flying?
No. I'm like John Madden. I take the bus.
go back to Sarkisian. He's also eligible to earn $1.5 million in bonuses if the Longhorns win a national championship, and they will be in the hunt. I firmly believe that. His original contract called for him to get $5.8 million in 2024, and according to the Regents' agenda, that raises a 78% overall increase in his guaranteed compensation. 78% raise. Big money, but if anybody's got the money, it's the University of Texas. It's got it.
Correct.
He
better win.
I don't think there's a wealthier program, athletic program anywhere. Let's get out on the light side here. Some of the strangest sports facts. We're getting close to the end of our time, but did you? And I just pulled these off just doing a little looking on the internet. The home team in football must provide. This is a National Football League. The referee with 36 footballs for each game.
I had no clue.
That's a lot of balls.
That is.
Yeah, I mean, you reckon Brady could get the air out of all them balls? I mean, I ain't going there. But I've always blamed that on the guy. We're talking about Deflategate.
Yeah.
I've always
that's the referee's fault.
Well, that is the referee's fault, or the guy that's supposed to actually do the air in the balls. But anyway, Brady got blamed for it. Blah blah blah. This one caught your eye about golf being the only sport to be played on the moon. I don't think they actually played. I think they hit a golf ball up there. I don't know which one it was. Cheerleading's big.
Yeah, it is.
And they made it even bigger. They were the first NFL franchise to have cheerleaders.
I think they even have a show about them on TV.
They did.
Did?
Yeah, I'd heard they did. I didn't watch it.
Really?
No, I missed it. We were talking about basketball earlier, and I think we mentioned this game. You know, Wilt Chamberlain never fouled out of a game. Now, how can you play down there low like he did and never foul out?
That's pretty amazing. Well, now he was 7-1-2, and back in the 50s, 60s, or whenever 70s when he played, I reckon he just had to stand there. I reckon.
Yeah, and hold his hands up. Listen to this. The longest tennis match took place in 2010 at Wimbledon when John Isner of the United States beat Nicolas Mahut, if I pronounced that correctly, of France in a match that lasted, guess, listen to this, a tennis match, 11 hours and 5 minutes. It took 3 days to complete.
That's amazing. Now,
I don't know what all went into that, but it must have been some weather delays or something. Let's see, kite flying. Charlie, go fly a kite. Anybody ever tell you to go fly a kite?
Yeah.
Well,
I
have too, but I've never done it professionally. But in Thailand, that's a professional sport.
Oh man.
Now here's one thing, and two more things, and we'll close out. I like this one. The average lifespan of a Major League Baseball. All you listeners out there, you think about it. How long on average, how many pitches does a Major League Baseball last? And it's 5 to 7.
That's pretty amazing.
Did it last that long?
Yeah. We talked about 36 footballs for the NFL home team. Mm-hmm. Reckon how many baseballs the home team has to provide during a ball
That'd be a good question. Well, Dale, if you're listening, you need to find that out. That's what you're being punished for, not being here, so you need to find that out. But anyway, here's the last thing I want to mention. The silhouette on the NBA logo is Hall of Fame player Laker Jerry West.
Didn't know that.
You remember Jerry?
I do.
Next time I'm gonna go find that logo and look at it right now. Charlie, I'm gonna tell you what, we're out of time.
Man, it's been a pleasure.
We thank you for being with us and filling in for Dale. I mean, that's a big shoe. But you got some big old feet, Charlie, so you can do it pretty good. Charlie and I want to thank you, and Dale does too, for joining us on the Brouhaha this week. And we want to remind you that you can keep up with us during the week on our Facebook page, the Brouhaha, and you can see all of our shows archived on our YouTube channel, the Brouhaha. But for now, you know what time it is, Charlie? It's time to
say goodbye.
To who?
Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
Bye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.